Hi, everyone. I hope you and your loved ones are doing well during these trying times. My name is Sam Cabriales, and as most of you know, I am a partner at Redondo & Cabriales, Certified Public Accountants. In this video, I will discuss the Paycheck Protection Program loan, widely known as the PPP loan. I will be talking to you in detail about the different loan requirements. I will also go over the terms that must be followed to obtain partial or complete forgiveness. Arredondo & Cabriales LLC does not guarantee partial or full forgiveness of the loan. This video will provide consulting material with the information available as of today, May 15, 2020. I will discuss the current guidance available. There are rapid changes and constant updates in the interpretation of the rules by the Small Business Administration, or SBA. Should there be any additional updates in the loan's terms for forgiveness from the SBA, our team will reach out to you and give you an update on those changes. I will discuss the information necessary to keep in mind when applying for forgiveness so that you may obtain maximum loan forgiveness amount. Obtaining maximum loan forgiveness is based on numerous variables. Therefore, Arredondo & Cabriales LLC cannot assure partial or complete loan forgiveness. I would like to let you know that Congress is still currently working with the SBA and the U.S. Treasury for possible changes to the PPP loan program. What we do know for sure is that your company will be required to apply for forgiveness with your bank. It is important to know that every bank will have its own set of guidelines and interpretation of SBA guidance for applying for the loan forgiveness. Therefore, you must consult with your bank to find out the recommended approach. Ask your banker how to keep track of all qualifying expenses and the information that they will require to apply for forgiveness. If your banker says that they do not have a defined approach yet, please continue to follow up with them on a regular basis. It is completely normal since the SBA and the U.S. Treasury have not released complete guidance as of today. You need to immediately apply for loan forgiveness after June 30th, 2020. Once your company applies, your bank has 60 days to review your forgiveness application and to submit to the SBA for approval. There will be 6 months of no loan payment from the date of your loan origination. However, interest on the loan will accrue for those 6 months at 1% interest rate per year. Once your bank processes your forgiveness application, any unforgiven amount will be payable over 18 months with a 1% interest rate per year. The loan must be repaid within 2 years of the receipt of the loan if complete forgiveness is not granted by your bank. Next, let me explain the PPP loan more in detail. The loan was created in response to COVID-19 to keep employees on payroll. It was made available to address disruption in business generated by the pandemic, government orders, and loss of revenue. To qualify, your business must have been affected by the pandemic. There are 3 rules to meet loan forgiveness. Rule number 1, at least 75% of the total loan received must be used in payroll costs. Rule number 2, the other 25% of the loan received may be used for other specified non-payroll costs. Rule number 3, headcounts and compensation levels should be maintained. If you reduce them, they must be restored to prior levels as if the pandemic had not happened. Let's look at the rules more in depth. Rule number 1, 75% of the or more of the PPP funds must be used for payroll to qualify for forgiveness during 8 weeks following the receipt of your loan from your bank. So what is considered payroll cost? These are basically salaries, hourly pay, commissions, vacation pay, holiday pay, and sick pay. Health benefits and retirement benefits paid by the company on behalf of the employee are also part of payroll costs. Employees earning more than $100,000 are capped at $15,385 for purposes of the computation over the 8-week covered period. In other words, if an employee earns more than $100,000, you can only deduct up to $15,385 in payroll costs per employee. The remaining will not be included in the calculation. Let me give you an example about using 75% on payroll costs. If you received a loan of $10,000, you must use $7,500 or more of it on payroll during the 8 weeks following the receipt of your loan funds. Another important aspect to consider for the 8-week cover period is your payroll schedule. What this means is that if you normally pay on Fridays and the end of the 8 weeks is on a Wednesday, you must run payroll on or before that Wednesday. Next, I'll cover rule number 2. You may not use more than 25% of the loan received for non-payroll costs. What do these costs include? It includes rent of tangible and real estate property for the business. Please note that we cannot include a deduction for rent if you did not have a rental or lease agreement in place on or before February 15, 2020. In addition, non-payroll costs also include utilities such as water, light, gas, internet, telephone, and transportation. You can pay mortgage interest on a building used in your business. Keep in mind, it is only the interest portion of the mortgage and not the principal portion of your payment due. Any payments made for the non-payroll costs mentioned must be for business purposes. All personal payments for rent, utilities, mortgage, and interest will not be used as part of the loan forgiveness process. I recommend that you keep a folder with copies of all receipts for allowed uses of the funds, as well as copies of your rental and lease agreements. You should keep copies of canceled checks, receipts, mortgage statements, and payroll reports handy to apply for loan forgiveness on June 30th, 2020. I want to point out that planning and projecting the use of all the funds received from the PPP on allowable uses is the goal, so that you do not end up with an amount due. Your company must consider maximizing the amount spent and meeting the 75-25% rules to utilize all the funds. Any unused portion will be considered a loan to be paid back to the SBA via your bank. Moving on to the next rule, headcounts and compensation levels must be maintained as if the pandemic had not taken place and your business was operating as usual. If you reduce them, they must be restored to prior levels as if the pandemic had not happened. In other words, if you decreased employment between February 15, 2020 and April 26, 2020 of this year, we recommend that you restore to original count of full-time employees and part-time employees as well as their compensation levels. You must do this before June 30th, 2020 of this year. The bank will review the total number of employees during February 15, 2019 and June 30th, 2019 from last year. They will also review the period of January 1st, 2020 to February 29, 2020 of this year to get the lowest number of full-time equivalent employees between these two periods. They will then select the one with the lowest number and compare to the number of employees paid in the 8 weeks following the receipt of your PPP loan funds. So let me give you an example. Once the previous year and the current year periods I just mentioned are compared, they will get the lowest number and you'll be required to maintain that number of employees at a minimum for full forgiveness consideration. If you fail to maintain employment, your loan forgiveness amount will be reduced proportionately. For example, if you had 4 employees and only maintained 2 employees in the 8 weeks period, you will be forgiven 50% of the loan because you were only able to maintain half of your workforce. Now, if you lost employees or terminated them due to the pandemic, you must rehire them. What happens if for some reason someone does not want to come back and work for you? Or if they are in unemployment and refuse to go back to work? In this case, you might need to hire another employee and compensate the hours and pay from your former employee to prevent any salary and headcount reduction. Our team will assist you in figuring out these difficult calculations. We'll be requesting all the necessary information from you to properly calculate employee headcounts as well as the projected use of the funds to maximize loan forgiveness if possible. We will call you to assist you in planning the use of the PPP funds to meet requirements for loan forgiveness. In a nutshell, please restore the number of employees to the amount you had prior to the pandemic affecting your business. Project to use 75% or more of your loan for payroll over the 8 weeks from the date you received your PPP loan funds. You may also use 100% of the PPP loan funds for payroll costs and still qualify, assuming you maintain headcount and salary levels. If you're unable to use 75% of the funds for payroll because you do not have enough hours to offer your employees to work, or can't pay employees enough with your current payment agreement to meet the 75%, call us so that we can make suggestions such as offering hazard pay to employees to compensate and meet the 75% rule. We will carefully analyze the situation and give you a proposal for you to decide on. So keep in mind that if you fail to qualify and follow these rules we just discussed, you'll have to repay all or part of the loan as well as all applicable interest from the loan origination date. The PPP loan funds are loaned from the federal government and do not represent a grant until you meet all the requirements we just talked about. Remember, it is your responsibility to contact your bank to figure out what information will be required from them to process your forgiveness application at the end of the 8 weeks following the date in which you receive your funds from the bank. Once again, I remind you that the PPP loan forgiveness guidance is constantly evolving, and we will let you know as relevant updates and clarifications are issued by the SBA. Please note that Arredondo & Cabriales LLC is only providing business consulting and tax advice with the loan forgiveness application process. We do not guarantee that you will get your loan partially or entirely forgiven. All consulting offered is with information as provided by the Small Business Administration and is subject to modification due to rapid changes in circumstances and current economic conditions, as well as interpretation of the CARES Act. Please note that if the requirements are not met for forgiveness, you will have to repay the loan as per the SBA terms or applicable financial institution terms. Arredondo & Cabriales LLC does not offer legal advice. Please consult with your attorney for any legal questions that you may have. I want to again thank you for taking the time to listen to me and watch this video. Arredondo & Cabriales CPAs also thanks you for choosing us for this valuable consulting. Please contact us for any additional questions you may have. I wish you and your loved ones to be safe. We wish you the best during these challenging times. Goodbye, everybody.